Hello, and welcome back to Mystique Studio Stories for Kids. It's time to find your comfiest, coziest spot. Close your eyes, take a slow, sleepy breath, and let's begin our story. Tonight, we're going to meet someone very, very tiny in a story called Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there lived a kind woman who wished very much to have a little child of her own. She went to visit a wise old woman who gave her a single magic barley corn seed. "Plant this in a flower pot," the wise woman said, "and see what happens." The woman went straight home and planted the seed. At once, a beautiful, large flower, much like a tulip, began to grow. Its petals were closed up tight, just like a bud. "What a lovely flower," the woman said, and she leaned down to kiss its soft red petals. At her kiss, the flower magically popped open. And there, sitting on the green center, was a tiny, perfect little girl. She was no bigger than the woman's thumb. "Oh, you are a marvel," the woman whispered. And because she was so very small, she named her Thumbelina. Thumbelina had a wonderful life. Her cradle was a polished walnut shell. Her blanket was a soft violet petal, and her bed was a blue rose petal. During the day, she played on the table in a bowl of water, floating from one side to the other on a large tulip petal, using 2 white horsehairs as oars. It was a lovely sight. But one night, as Thumbelina lay sleeping in her walnut shell, a window pane broke. Crash! An ugly old toad hopped into the room. "My goodness," croaked the toad. "What a perfect little wife you'll make for my son." And with a plop, the big, clumsy toad picked up the walnut shell with Thumbelina inside and hopped away, out into the garden and down to the wide, muddy riverbank where she lived. When Thumbelina woke up, she was all alone on a giant green lily pad in the middle of the wide river. She was so frightened, she began to cry. She could never get back to her cozy home from here. But the little fish swimming in the water below saw her tears. They felt sorry for the tiny girl. They nibbled and nibbled at the lily pad stem until, snap! It broke free. The lily pad began to float gently down the river, like a little green boat, carrying Thumbelina far away. A beautiful white butterfly fluttered nearby. Thumbelina tied her sash around it, and the butterfly pulled her along even faster, dancing over the water. But oh dear! A large beetle suddenly flew down and snatched Thumbelina right off the lily pad. He carried her up into a tall tree. The poor little butterfly flew away, free. The beetle thought Thumbelina was very pretty at first, but when his other beetle friends came to visit, they wiggled their antennae and said, "Ugh, she only has 2 legs. And look how tiny her waist is. She doesn't even have feelers." Suddenly, the beetle didn't think she was so pretty anymore. He carried her down from the tree and set her on a daisy in a big open meadow. Then he flew away, leaving her all alone once more. Thumbelina lived in the meadow all summer and all autumn. She wove a blanket from blades of grass and drank the dew from the leaves. But soon, the weather turned cold. The flowers wilted, the leaves fell, and the long, cold winter began. Poor, tiny Thumbelina was freezing. She wandered until she found a small, warm hole under a cornstalk. It was the home of a kind old field mouse. "You poor child," the field mouse squeaked. "Come inside. You can stay with me all winter if you will clean my house and tell me stories." Thumbelina was so grateful. She had a warm home at last. One day the field mouse had a visitor. It was her neighbor, Mr. Mole. Mr. Mole was very rich and lived in a grand house underground, but he couldn't stand the sun and had never seen the flowers. He heard Thumbelina sing and fell in love with her voice. "You shall marry Mr. Mole," the field mouse declared. Thumbelina was horrified. She didn't want to marry the grumpy Mr. Mole and live underground forever, never to see the bright, warm sun again. While she was worrying, Thumbelina found a little bird, a swallow, lying in one of the tunnels. It was cold and still. "Oh, you poor thing," she whispered. She felt so sorry for it. All winter, she secretly brought the bird seeds from her own small meals and wove a warm blanket of hay to cover it. She didn't know it, but the bird wasn't gone. It was just frozen from the cold. Her kindness and the warm blanket slowly brought it back to life. By the time spring arrived, the swallow was strong. "Thank you, dear girl," the bird chirped. "You saved me. Come with me. I will carry you away from here." "Yes. Oh, yes," cried Thumbelina. Just before she was supposed to marry Mr. Mole, Thumbelina climbed onto the swallow's back. Whoosh! They flew up, up, up out of the dark tunnels, past the green fields, over the high mountains, and into the bright blue sky. The swallow carried her far away, to a land where the sun always shone, and the air was always warm. He set her down gently on the petal of a huge, beautiful white flower, and sitting in the middle of that flower was someone just like her. It was a tiny prince, no bigger than Thumbelina, with a golden crown on his head and the most beautiful, clear wings on his back. He had never seen anyone as lovely as Thumbelina. "What is your name?" he asked. "Thumbelina," she said. "That is a sweet name," he smiled, "but you are far too beautiful for it. Will you be my queen?" Thumbelina looked at the kind prince and the beautiful sunny land, and she said yes. And from all the flowers around, other tiny men and women appeared. They brought gifts for Thumbelina. The best gift of all was a pair of delicate, shimmery wings, just like the prince's. Now, she too could fly from flower to flower, and the prince gave her a new name. He called her Maya. She and her prince lived happily ever after, flying in the sunshine among the flowers. And the swallow who had saved her flew back north, where he built a nest and sang sweet songs about the little girl who was no bigger than a thumb, but who had the biggest, kindest heart of all. And now, it's time for you to fly away, to your own sweet dreams. Good night, sleep tight, and sweet dreams from all of us at Mystique Studio. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for more wonderful stories.